Last year, actually, you won the award for the leading role in Returnal. How's that like?
Yes.
You know?
Oh, do you know what? Oh, I have my Bafta here actually.
Oh yeah,
Let me get it. Here it is.
that's
Yay!
so cool. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining.
It's my pleasure.
How's 2023 has been so far for you?
Yeah, it's been good. It's kind of off to a slightly slow start. I don't know why that is. I mean, I guess that's kind of common, really. Everybody,
Hmm.
is in a mad rush before the holiday season kicks off.
Yeah.
And then January just sort of takes its time. And so I think now that we're in February, it's just starting to achieve a bit of liftoff now, which is nice.
I know you have like a very tight schedule. How do you handle all of this? Working on TV and then movies and video games. How is it? How do you manage all of that?
Well, I think you just take it as it comes, really. And sometimes it's incredibly busy, and then other times it's not. And I will say there is that, that saying, when it rains, it pours. I think that is absolutely true for some reason. And so it seems like when I am busy, it's everything happens all at once. And then suddenly there's nothing going on instead of it being all sort of even. So I guess in those really busy periods, I just take it one step at a time, and do what needs to be done first, and then move on to the next thing. Yeah. And then, when it's quiet, you're like, oh gosh, I would love for it to be busy. And then it gets busy again.
I think I'm kind of in the same zone, right? I'm trying to keep myself busy for reasons I don't know exactly, but I'm like, when I'm not, and I feel like I think I'm supposed to do something.
Oh, completely. I have a list of things to do that's about 6 pages long, and which is ridiculous. Actually,
Jesus.
don't do that. If you're trying to, be productive, don't make a to-do list that's so long. But if I ever sort of think, what should I do now? There's always things in that to-do list that I can, refer to and get cracking with. And they're usually things like taxes
Uh
and stuff that you don't really want to do.
you have to
Clean
do
out the
it.
cupboard downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No,
like
we
one
don't
of
want
those
to do
things
that.
like, oh my God, I have to do this too.
And the Bafta goes to Jane Perry in Returnal.
Last year, actually, you won the award for the leading role in Returnal. How's that like?
Yes.
You know?
Oh, do you know what? Oh, I have my Bafta here actually.
Oh yeah,
Let me get it. Here it is.
that's so cool.
Yay! This yeah, it was really cool. And it's such it's such a gift, uh to be acknowledged, and in particular by an organization like BAFTA, which is such a champion of games. And I really recall, the night that I won, I just felt this tremendous sense of community, which is something that I really value about working in games. It is a wonderful community of people, and I'm talking about, the game developers, the publishers, the actors who are involved, and all the people behind the scenes. And that is, yeah, that's a wonderful thing to be a part of. And then, of course, there's the players as
Yeah.
well, which is, an even sort of wider aspect of this community. But it's a real infusion of positivity. To be connected to this community in such an intimate way. And I think when you win an award like that, or if you've been part of the industry for as long as I have, you start to feel like you are really a part of something. And games right now are so, I feel like they've already achieved liftoff in a way, but they're about to get sort of spectacular in terms of what they mean in our society, and in our ways that we connect, the ways that we seek and find entertainment. And so I feel incredibly grateful to be participating in games at this stage of their development. It's very exciting.
That's awesome. I was so happy that you got to have the BAFTA for the leading role. I was like, yes, that's so cool. Because you've been so like, I've known you from Hitman days. I'm like, wow, this like she is like
Right.
getting from lead role. It's like I just blew my mind to see that. I'm so happy for you. So congratulations to you again for that win.
Thank you. Thank
uh,
you so much. Thank you.
what do you think about like the voice acting in video games, how it has evolved from then till now?
Yes, well, I think, voice acting in games, there's been this kind of evolution. I mean, there's been an evolution in games where games, they started to introduce characters in games with like Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario and all that sort of stuff. And it's always been about gameplay, but I think slowly but surely characters in games have really started to become really part of the fabric of a game, and in a way that's quite important. So obviously the characters start to drive the plot that takes you to more interesting and not necessarily challenging but interesting moments of gameplay. And the voice acting really needs to support the characters so that the character can support the story and the story supports the player in the gameplay. And I think that, when actors first started voicing games, there was a sense of like, well, yeah, big deal. Like, that's no big deal. Nobody was paying attention, in other words, in terms of, a lot of actors and people in the entertainment industry, they were sort of just thinking, well, games, who cares about that? And then we started to realize actually how amazing games are. And people started to pay attention. And therefore, we're starting to see more and more sophisticated performances in games. And I think we're expecting quite sophisticated storytelling from the writers and acting from the voice artists and the motion capture and performance capture artists who play these characters, who become these characters. So it's really had a really interesting evolution. And I was playing God of War Ragnarok the other day, and I was like, oh my god, all the actors, they're like TV stars. They're really well-known actors. And I've certainly been on performance capture sets where you walk on and you're like, oh my God, it's that famous actor, fill in the blank. So I think, games have infiltrated other forms of entertainment that we're really familiar with, film and TV, for example, or maybe film and TV has infiltrated games. I think it's really that way. They're really knocking on the door now, like, can we come and play?
That's right. I mean, God of War, as you said, like, it's been incredible to see those actors be a part of the game. And you mentioned you played the game yourself. Like, do you play games more often, or is it like once in a like moment or something?
Well, yes, I'm starting to play them more and more because it's, I don't know, I didn't grow up playing games, so it was never part of my kind of I don't know, entertainment sort of way of spending time, entertainment process. But because I'm involved in the industry, I really do want to play more and more games and get involved and understand them from that point of view. And I think acting in games, you don't necessarily have to play games to understand acting in games. What you do have to understand is how to act. However, it does help to just be familiar with the player's experience and what's going on for them. And also, games are a heck of a lot of fun to play. So there's that side of it too.
Yes.
I have found a deceased Astra Scout here. Checking identification on a helmet. It's...
How was your experience like playing a lead role like Selene in Returnal, in a world like Returnal, with a character like her?
Well, it was, it was hard sometimes. I mean, I get asked this question a lot, and I have to say that it was a great pleasure to play Selene because she is an incredible character. Maybe it's better to say it was a great honor to play her because she has this amazing journey, but her journey is hard. And so sometimes the playing of it was quite difficult emotionally and psychologically, I would say. And, when I think about playing games, I don't know that I could play Returnal right now, maybe in like a year or something. I think I need some distance from it because I was so encapsulated in what she was going through that when I, maybe watch a little bit of it on YouTube or hear a trailer or something like that, there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, I don't want to go back there quite yet. So it was an honor, but it was hard, because what she goes through is very, very difficult. So yeah, but I will say, working with Housemarque, the developer in Finland, they were just so wonderful to work with. I really enjoyed our well, I wouldn't say it was a well, it was a collaboration, but I really enjoyed connecting with them, and hearing them speak about the game that they've worked so hard on for such a long period of time was interesting, because their passion was so strong. Their ideology around the character of Selene was really well articulated and well encompassed, and that part of it was pure pleasure working with them. I just adore them as a developer, so that was great.
That is amazing. I just really love how different this character was, and how much she was dealing with overall, which was very hard to sometimes, like, my god, she's like dealing with so much, and I'm playing as her. Like, we get to see that story, and like it's all of a sudden just like going crazy. I'm like, my god, what's going on, what's happening? And to get to know her story, which I've
Yeah.
not seen yet, but I would love to know what happens later on.
Yeah, well, I think it's out on February 17th on PC,
Yes,
so that's kind of exciting.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it for sure. But
Yay.
there was another game that I was sort of blown away when I played it. I was like, it came out last year. It was As Dusk Falls.
You and me both know that's not why you're taking me in.
No. Nuh-uh. Don't even start down that road.
Paul, come with me.
I first saw it, I was like, okay, there's like this sort of like stop motion where the characters are having that stop motion thing where everything else is like very smooth and everything. And I was like, maybe I'm not so sure about it. And then once I played it and once how the story went, I was like, wow, this is probably one of the best games I played. And then I saw you there, and I was like, I know her. So how was that playing that character in that particular game?
Again, that was a really nice experience, because you're right, we did this sort of stop motion thing, which meant that the cast had to get together as an ensemble and act out those scenes. So, a lot of the games that I have voiced in recent years has just been me in the studio with a sound engineer and a performance director. Whereas with As Dusk Falls, we met in an actual studio and it was filmed. So we would, sort of learn the lines, do the scenes with all of the characters that were in that particular scene, and really engage with each other and act like as though it was a film or a theatrical production. And they had as a really great cast of actors, a really engaging story, and it was great fun. And I think it's quite a unique game. I think Interior Night that's the developer of As Dusk Falls. They really had this intention of creating a game that would appeal to somebody who maybe doesn't play games that often, who's much more into, say, watching a TV series. So that's why they had this kind of stop motion thing and making it very familiar, I guess, to the genre of a TV series, whilst folding in these different branches and these different options that the player can choose, to dictate which way the story is going to go. So that was quite unique, and I'm really pleased for their success. They've done incredibly well with As Dusk Falls. It won a great award at the Games Awards this year. I think it won Best Game for Impact.
It did. I was very happy. I was like shouting, "Yay!"
Yeah, and it's doing really, really well. So I'm very, very pleased for them. I think that Interior Night is a developer to watch out for. I think they've got some exciting things coming. And it was a great idea, And once again, I think every game is a long time in the making, from the idea, the concept of it, to the actual date of release is years, really. And that is certainly the case with As Dusk Falls. So I'm really happy for them, because they sure worked hard on it. And it's a different kind of game, so it was a bit of a gamble, I think. I think, like you, a lot of people were like, I think they were like, I don't know about this. I'm not sure about this game. But actually, when you start playing it, you realize, no, it's great. It's really engaging, really interesting, great characters. So, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I loved every single part of it. Love all the characters, and you guys did so well in that. I was like really interested in what's going on with you and your family, your character's family, and then the other family. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is so insane because you have your two sons, and like the character has two sons, and then one of them is like going in a different direction. It's just like a very interesting thing, and I wanted more when the game ended. I was like, there should be more. There's gotta be more.
Oh.
So I'm just hoping.
Oh, okay. Well, I will let them know. I'll pass that on to Caroline Marchal, who is I guess the CEO really of Interior Night. So I'll tell her how fond you are of it. And yeah, and it's so nice to talk about it because it's always great to spread the word about these wonderful games. So yeah,
Hell yes.
thank you for saying that.
Oh no, thank you for working on that. It's just been so great. You talked about how in this one, usually in video games, you have to be in voice booth and you have to go in that direction instead of like acting with everybody else. Is it ever hard for you to like be in a booth and just reading your lines without having anybody to record with?
Yeah.
Was it ever odd, or like you're fine with it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's interesting. I talk about this a lot when people ask about what do they need to do to get into games acting and how is it different. I think actors are really intrigued by how acting is different from one medium to the next. So how is film and TV, how is film different from TV? How is TV and film different from stage? And then how are all of those different from acting in games? And of course, I think games, whether it be you in the voice booth just by yourself, or if you're even doing performance capture or motion capture, there's this incredible engagement of imagination that is quite necessary to be in games because you don't have all the things that you would normally have, say, in a theatrical rehearsal. You don't have access to a costume. There's this great thing for actors like, oh, you find your character when you put the character's shoes on, because the shoes and the costume inform how the character moves, and how we move informs how we think and speak, and maybe it also informs a certain period in history. But we don't have any of that, so we have to fill in the blanks in our own imaginations, and we also have to imagine who we're acting opposite of. So because there's no, you don't have a scene partner or any other characters to act with. So I think it's really being able to apply your imagination in the moment and using your imagination to create a picture around you of everything that would normally be there in a real life scenario or on a film and TV set. And then it's about being in the moment because, and this is another thing that we tend to talk about a lot as games actors, is you don't get the scripts in advance. So you can't really prepare. If you're doing performance capture, then yes, you do, because you've got lines to learn. But if you're just voicing a character in a sound booth, then it'll be sent to you the night before. And, you might have hundreds of lines. So you don't really have time to prepare each one. So you just have to be there in the moment, ready to go for whatever is thrown at you. And, we call that a challenge, but actually it's kind of fun because I think being in the moment in life is quite difficult. I find it difficult anyway. But you have to be when you're in the voice booth. There's and so therefore there's this kind of onus on you to just let everything else go, just be present and just do the job at hand. And I have a bit of trouble focusing sometimes, but when I have to do that, I can do it, and it puts me into the zone, in the state of flow that I really enjoy, and as I say, have a bit of trouble getting into at other points in my life, other moments in my life. And that is a real pleasure. So it's not as challenge. Yes, it's challenging, but the challenges also bring really positive and good things with it. So yeah.
Now, you actually mentioned some of the things like to be present and like do the job that you have got, because you mentioned like you get the script the night before. I know voiceovers, you have to get the script like at the very last moment, not exact last moment, but during the day or before the day of recording. If like, do you ever have that feeling? I don't know if you do, maybe you've done so much now, but you get that script and you feel anxious about like, oh my God, can I do this? Or can I read the lines perfectly the next day? Or when the day happens, the moment before you go for it. I'm like, oh my god, voice trembles or something like that. Do you have those moments, or like you figure it out?
Well, I don't think I do have those moments anymore. I think because I've learned to trust myself. I probably did when I first started. But I think one of the interesting things about being in the zone is self-consciousness sort of dissipates in a way. And what you're talking about, I think that moment of, oh my God, can I do this? Some your focus, not yours, but say it was me feeling that way. My focus would be really on myself and perhaps more on like a product orientated, outcome orientated state of mind. And sometimes when we take that point of view, things don't go very well because we're not kind of coming from the right place. The right place is really, again, being in the moment and just taking what comes and allowing your focus to be with perhaps your performance director or the excuse me, the game developer, listening to what they're saying and really think about delivering what they're after, telling the story that they want to tell. But yeah, nerves are really a part of, I think, a lot of performance. And I certainly feel like I'm vibrating at a higher frequency, on the day when I have to go in and do some voice work in a game. Absolutely. I don't just sort of swan in and like, hey guys, what you doing? I'm feeling like, okay, I'm ready to go here. I'm ready for this. And I guess in some ways that's nerves, that's sort of nerves that are just bubbling away.
Yeah.
But I think I've had a lot of hours in the studio now where I feel like I've got this, I can do this. And if I feel like there's something that I'm not sure about, I will just ask and I'll talk it through with the director and I'll just have a few goes with a very playful attitude. So that's the other thing, not to take ourselves too seriously and just try different stuff off the top of our heads and see what sticks. And some things are terrible, but it doesn't matter. The point is we're just trying and bashing our way through and working towards, getting something that sounds right and that the developer's after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's lovely. That's actually a lot of things that I guess many, including me, I would, something to learn because I always get super anxious on something, whatever, even like it happens every time. Whoever I get to talk to, any voice actor, I would get that nervous and, super nervous right before,
Yeah.
5 minutes before, 2 minutes before, like it's going to happen again. Like, and I always keep on reminding,
Yeah.
like, you have done this before. You've done this before. You can do
Yeah.
this again. So
This was no coincidence.
Not by a long shot. Thomas Cross had billions in hidden offshore accounts, all stripped clean within hours of the kidnapping.
Diana has been such a popular character,
Yeah.
but from just being present with Agent 47 to now interacting, like you can see her in the new games, like that evolution
Yeah.
of Diana has been insane. Like, what do you think of Diana character right now, like from then till now?
I love Diana. I just love her. And I feel lucky because I have a lot of characters where I feel like I can say, oh, I just love her. But I do really love Diana. And she's fun. And I have a lot of admiration for her because she's so smart and intelligent. She has a kind of wry sense of humor that's kind of there all the time, but she doesn't indulge too much, but it's definitely there. And when I'm playing her, I'm constantly raising my eyebrow. I'm like, yes. And she's, I just think she's brilliant. And I think she's evolved as a character really beautifully in terms of her relationship with 47, kind of treating him as a sort of object, which she sort of confesses to at one point in Hitman 3.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I'm not sure she completely feels that way. She's objectified him and used him as a tool, but I think actually there's more to her feelings for him and their professional relationship than perhaps she lets on. And she's she's very articulate, and I think she's just a great role model, as a woman.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like her a lot.
I like her. She's just like a very strong character, and I've always been like, she's such bold whenever she's trying to say something. to like in the back, like in the older games, like she's trying to really say all what was happening in the mission, what's supposed to happen, what's like the kind of the backstory and all that stuff. So it was like really, I felt like the strong presence is there. And whenever I hear you, I feel like I'm listening to Diana, really. Like it just feels like that's you. So like I just love that you've done so like such an incredible job playing her, like, and it's just, you know, it's been growing ever since.
Don't see that often. Determination like yours. Must really need this guy.
Matter of life and death.
Haven't heard that for a while either.
How is that playing in that world like yeah, I know that world is very different from any other video games, so how was that moment like?
Well, Rogue is she's such a character. Like she's so tough and really jaded. She's been there, she's seen it all. And in other words, she's really not like me at all. And so that's really fun, you know, to play characters that are just not like yourself. And you know, it's just fun to do that. And I like her, I like her ballsiness. I think a lot of the women in that game are quite strong and quite strident. And so, you know, she's in good company in that regard. But yeah, we worked on that game for quite some time. And so I was really involved with Rogue for, gosh, I don't know, I want to say over a year. I could be wrong about that, but it was quite a bit of time that we were working on that character. Or not working on the character, but working on the game, I should say. And of course, the game is from, you know, another fabulous developer, CD Projekt Red, who's got this great, you know, sort of provenance with The Witcher.
Yeah.
So I was really honored to work for them and really honored that they chose me to play that part. Again, just a lot of fun. And then of course, you know, you're acting with Keanu Reeves. And that's nice.
How is that really
No
like
complaints there.
the moment, like, you know, did you like guys like you get to like meet him, work with him, alongside him, or was it like not exactly?
Oh, I wish. I would have loved to have met him. I hear he's such a nice person, and he's a fellow Canadian, which is a great thing too.
He is.
But no, so he did all his stuff in Los Angeles. As you know, he did the performance capture for his role, Johnny Silverhand. All that was done in Los Angeles. And then they did motion capture for my character. And I'm not sure who did motion capture for Rogue. But anyway, that was all done in Los Angeles. And then I did the voice work in London, here in London. So I never got to meet him. You know, as I was saying to you earlier, I did all my lines kind of without him imagining how he might have said the lines. But when you get close to, you know, the end of the process, they would bring me back in for pickups and stuff like that. And they would say, "Oh, Jane, we actually have the line here to play for you." And they'd play Keanu's voice. And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, great, there he is." And then I'd say my line and you know, so you're sort of acting with the person. But the fact of the matter is that they recorded their lines maybe, you know, a number of weeks prior or a few days prior. So I didn't really act with him, but I did have, you know, I did hear his voice and respond to it. So that's kind of acting.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Again, thank you so much for talking with me like about all these characters and all of the games that you've been part of and all the future games that you will be a part of as well, because I'm super excited to see what comes next. I don't know if you can share anything at all, what you're coming up with next, or I know there's NDAs and stuff. There's more of the stuff that you can't talk about, but
I'm working on 2 games, but sadly, I can't tell you anything about them. So annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I could be lying. I could be like, "Oh, I'm working on 25 games," and then you know, I might not be. But
Jeez.
but I am working on 2 games, and they're interesting games. Actually, one I'm quite excited about because it's again, it's an ensemble recording in the voice booth, which is really lovely to be able to do. So watch this space.
Okay, I see. I've heard, I've seen two people say the same lines, but I get it. I'm just excited to see what happens next. I'm just looking forward to it. But yeah, again, thank you so much for sharing all these stories, for coming to talk to me about all these characters. It's been lovely. I loved it.